back to GoMat 28. For most of you might know actually that I was recently on a missions trip with my church and our youth. The VBS, that's done a little differently. It is done with the Montana Indian Ministries on the Fort Belknap Reservation within Montana. And it was just an amazing experience. And I just wanted to kind of tell you guys a little bit about it. So for one of the things was, so the camp's about 8 hours away from us, and we had to drive there, just the scenery and everything we had to enjoy. Before we left here, we knew that other churches were going to join us, but just getting there and experiencing churches from Alabama, South Carolina, even individuals from Georgia and Arkansas, and just all across Montana as well, just coming together and just really wanting to work with this ministry and just really partner together. It was a great opportunity for our church to come together and just really see how we can learn from each other and just how we can learn how to serve a Native community living within America. One thing I didn't know was actually learning about the First Nations version New Testament that they have. And it's an indigenous translation of the New Testament specifically focused on speaking to the Native community and having the word speak to them. And it was just, the VBS was focused on the Lord's Prayer within the First Nation version. And it was just using this scripture to speak to them. And it's just somebody that doesn't really know much about the Native culture or knows very little. I really learned a lot, really learned about the community, how the culture is so different and yet so important, and also just how much we can actually learn from them. We also had all the different kids, over 100 kids just come there and just really experience God in a different way and just experience the love of God. And I would encourage you, if you're really interested in what God is doing within the Native community, look up Montana Indian Ministries and just really look to see what they're doing. During this trip, it was just really some of the kids' experiences. Like what I felt unique about the experience was that the volunteers from the different churches brought youth, so high school kids mainly, and these kids would be partnered with the youth at the camp. And these were kids from 7 to 11, but also the kids that were coming to the camp and just working in each of them differently. And just how the adults were able to volunteer and the different scenarios that come up, from just doing physical labor activities that are helpful to the camp, to just being there for the youth or the kids as well, and just really partnering in different ways and working together. This really is a ministry where everybody can be a part of, and I would really encourage you, if you're interested in doing anything with the Native community, look up this ministry. We helped set up teepees. Some of the kids slept in teepees. It was a whole cultural experience, and I would really encourage you to look this up. I kind of just wanted to share one story from camp, and this is just something that we experience not necessarily in our daily lives, but it's still a reality for some of these kids. And as soon as the kids arrive at camp, they get checked for lice. And sadly, that is just something that a lot of these kids had. There was over 30 cases of lice, which amazingly was less than last year, which was over 50. But this year we still had the lice checks, and initially I wasn't planning to volunteer for that or really help out of that, but I kind of got voluntold, and it was fine. It was just an experience that I wouldn't necessarily have chosen by myself, but knowing more about it and just knowing how it could just really impact these kids, it was different. It was really a unique experience, and something that I might be able to do again and just be able to do better next time as well. So as these kids get treated, we call it spa day, because we really don't want to make their experience worse, or we're already set apart, we're already set aside, and it's not a nice experience. We want to treat it as a spa day. And most of you probably might not know, but the whole treatment is where they wash their hair, the treatment gets put in their hair, and they have to sit in a chair for about 10 minutes for the treatment to kind of set in. Then they have to go rinse their hair again, and then they get the comb through to get the lice and all the eggs and everything off their hair. And it's a tedious process, and it's not something that most kids, especially young kids, really want to go through, especially just as you arrive at camp. But we were arriving at there and we just really spent time with these kids, getting to know them, speaking to them, treating them just as normal kids. They weren't being set aside for anything that they did. This is just something they had, and we had to deal with it. And this was just a good opportunity for us to get to know these kids. With these things, they also get checked daily, and if they still have lice, they kind of have to go through it again, the whole experience. And so the story I actually just really wanted to tell what actually happened on the third day. And it was different because on the third day, they would have been checked for lice twice. And he was already checked twice and they didn't really see anything. But on the third day, the person who checked him found some lice, and that was concerning. And we had to go through the whole process again of just washing his hair, treating him, and really making sure we got all the lice out. All of his clothes had to be cleaned again, and we had to make sure that the bed he was sleeping. It was a whole experience in the middle of camp. And while he was being treated, I found out that he really didn't want to be at camp anymore. He was just missing his grandmother. His experience at camp had been good, but not amazing. And he wasn't feeling like he really wanted to be there anymore. And now he had to go all through his lice treatment all over again. And he was just feeling a little frustrated at first. And it was just hard. It was just hard to see. And just really like having to experience that. I didn't want him to go through it again. So I really wanted to focus on making his time special, but also really making sure we got all the lice out. And it was amazing to see, because I got help from somebody, and a lady that was just, she normally checks for lice and she knows what to look for, and really helped me because I didn't exactly know what I was looking for. And she was just able to help and come into the bathroom with the little guy's consent, of course, especially since it was just me and her and him in there. It was really good to have that third person just focus on his hair and just really getting the tangles out, making sure he got a good treatment, and he had such an amazing hair as well. I was just really taking care of that and making sure that he was treated well. Because as I was doing it, I was just pulling his hair, and I wasn't able to do it properly and with the care that is needed. And with her, she just, being a lady, or maybe just my ignorance, she had more experience of getting the tangles out. We got some detangled spray, which helped a lot as well. And I think after a few showers as well, just kind of making sure he got the lice treatment in, the hair clean. It was a good time with him, and just learning about his grandmother, learning about what he does, his family, his siblings, and just talking with him and just being able to play games with him while his hair was being done. It was such a joy of just being in there with him. And he gave me such an amazing, afterwards he just gave me this one gift that I would treasure. He just said, "I feel special. And if nothing else, I'm just so glad that for this little kiddo, we can make him feel special." He had such a good time in that bathroom, not because of the treatment that was being done to him, but just because he felt that he was special. And I wasn't able to be at the end of the camp, but he stayed till the end, and I wasn't able to say goodbye because of some things we'll deal with soon. But the lady who was with us in camp, and she told me later that he gave us such a big smile as he left camp, with so much joy, just with knowing that the little time we invested in him, he enjoyed camp more after those treatments. He enjoyed his time. He enjoyed camp. He enjoyed the fellowship of all the kids, all running around, just playing. And something was different after that treatment. He just enjoyed life more. And I'm just so thankful we could be a part of that. On the Thursday, so 2 days before the end of camp, I was helping out in the morning, and I just started feeling ill. And after throwing up and not fainting, but some degree just kind of losing strength and just kind of collapsing a little bit, still being aware of all my surroundings, and just my body started shaking. I had seizure-like symptoms, and being rushed to the hospital, and from there being rushed to a bigger hospital because of what was happening with the seizure-like symptoms. They weren't sure what was going on. There was just a lot of uncertainty. With the whole health scare thing, there was just a lot of uncertainty and things. And Christina even had to drive 7 hours to where I was eventually taken. And it was just, for me, at that point, I had no idea what was going on. I was under strong medication, but as Christina was driving to the hospital in Billings, she just really felt peace. And it was just, I think it's just something that only God can give us. It's just because like she knew that I was in his hands and that she can't do anything about it, but she was still had peace for a 7-hour drive, just being able to be there, being able to drop everything and just go. And just not at that point, even not really knowing what was going on. She just knew it was seizure-like symptoms or maybe seizures or something. She didn't really know. And she made it very late in the evening. Apparently I was awake, but didn't really know that she was there. I was still under heavy medication. It was an interesting experience because the next day when I was fully aware and fully awake, Christina was there. It was amazing just to wake up and just see my wife next to me and just kind of like, she wasn't even allowed to be in the room, even on a recliner, which sometimes just being in the same room with a person you love is really just a blessing as well. Like even she didn't enjoy sleeping on a recliner much, but she was thankful to be in the same room. And for me, just waking up and seeing her was a great blessing to me as well, since I was taken to a different city where nobody was able to really come, and even from the camp to be with me as well. So I was kind of alone in a big city, and then just to have Christina join me was a great blessing. But with the doctors, they kind of did all the tests and everything, and they didn't find anything. So they were just kind of like, we're not really sure what was going on. But neurologists didn't know, like all the other doctors, they just weren't really sure. And I did another MRI test and a few more tests, and all of them came back good. And they discharged me on Friday. And I kind of persuaded Christina to go back to camp. I kind of wanted to finish well. And it was just, it was a different experience just coming back to camp and just seeing everybody show up at camp, especially in the way I left, with having to be dragged into a truck to be taken to the ambulance, to come back on my own strength and just really show people even just God's answer to prayer and just how God is answering prayer. And even just when we're looking back, like even with the doctors not being able to find anything and all of that, I'm just like, I'm not sure if God just took it away what caused the problems, or if it's just something that was just for that moment. But it was just amazing to see how God answered the prayers of the people, and how I can be that answer, just coming back and showing that I was there, I was healthy, and that God is good. And I just wanted to thank you if you were praying with us for that. It really means a lot. Thank you guys so much. And just thank you for this journey that you guys are taking with us.